I think that there is an important reflection that we're doing in this workshop, and is that we've been using evaluation as an ex post tool. So we've been using evaluation as a tool that will allow us to see whether an intervention is effective or not after it was implemented. This is useful. This is actually promoting accountability and an effective use of public resources, but it's not necessarily maximizing the effectiveness of interventions. We should change our mindset and think about how can we learn almost in real time from evaluations such that we can maximize the impact of our interventions. So this change in mindset is from having evaluations to promote accountability into having evaluations for learning formative purposes.
Evaluation is very important to see what works and what's not, and why and how. So I believe that doing evaluation and doing research about measures and policies is very important to support better policies. And as an evaluator, I just hope that we will find ways to send these messages to the decision makers on different levels. And they will listen to us, and we as evaluators will find a way to communicate the results in a way to be understandable for a broader audience, among them the decision makers. So I believe that evidence-based policies needs evidences, and we can provide that.
The evaluation method is very important because if we use a participative evaluation, if we use methods that involve people at all levels, beneficiaries, partners, and also decision maker, evaluation can help them to understand what they are doing, and they can really empower their action and to improve their capacity to realize the objects, and also to reflect on what worked and what has not worked. And this is, I suppose, that is very important. So mixed methods, reflective methods, participative method all together can help this type of effectiveness.
I think that evaluation is really important in potentially influencing educational and youth policies in general. The extent to which they're actually taken on board can vary, and I think it depends a little bit on the methodology of evaluation. One of the issues that was raised by the panel this morning was about evaluation as compliance and evaluation as learning. Now, I'm very much from the point of view of evaluation as learning. So the point of evaluation for me is how to improve youth policies, youth interventions to promote decent work for young people. The extent to which that's potential to do depends a bit on the nature of the evaluation and the purpose, to the extent to which it's about compliance rather than learning. I think we are moving in the right direction. There's more greater emphasis on good quality evaluation concerned with impact, the causal impact of interventions, and that way we can learn a lot more about what is actually going on, and that can at least be used, and sometimes is used, to actually improve policies, particularly maybe when the subject of the policy change is not the one being evaluated. So where there's this transference of knowledge with some care as to contextual factors and so on, I think it is potentially, and it is increasingly being used to there is a tension here between learning and compliance, and indeed policy change, as was pointed out by the European Commission representative. We have this issue that when it takes time to do a good evaluation. One thing that, in order to learn a lot, it's good to follow young people for quite some time after the intervention itself, and that's kind of works against the use of it as a mechanism to introduce immediate policy reform. So there's a tension here between getting a good sense of how effective particular interventions are and the actual needs to change quickly and to react to the things that need to be changed. So there is an inherent inherent tension there. But I think it's important to try, let's say.
How do evaluation methods influence the effectiveness? I don't think methods necessarily influence the effectiveness of youth and education policies. I do think that having evaluation influences the effectiveness. And I think the simple idea to have an evaluation in place, it's motivating people to pay more attention to the results that they are after. It's not only the fact that we just check that we implemented the activities, but if we know an evaluation will look into the effectiveness and impact of our activities, especially in youth and education, where actually impact and effectiveness are hard to measure, then probably people will pay a bit more attention to this element. So the idea to be result-based or result-oriented, it's influenced by the existence of an evaluation, and I think this is very, very important.
In the case of youth and programs for young people, I think their evaluations help a lot. For example, in the European Social Fund, there are many counterfactual impact evaluations concerning programs for young people, and there we have confirmation what works, what doesn't work, and the policymakers can answer to these challenges and information from evaluations.
That's a good question. I think that theoretically, evaluation provides lots of knowledge, information, and feedback to improve your policies. In theory. In practice, the issue is much more depending on the quality of the agency or policymakers to absorb knowledge, which is an issue, and one of the message I recognize in these days. The stability of institutions, I mean the policy institutions behind the policy making is an important factor to have better influence of evaluation on the policies. And it doesn't matter effectiveness or efficiency or impact, but if somebody doesn't understand because she or he never meet with the evaluation pre-findings and the previous evaluation findings, it means that we began the same rounds in all the time. So it's to have a better improvement in the policies and a continuous development. It needs some stability behind the policy making.
Time evaluation methods make some improvements, but it maybe depends on those who are, let's say, are evaluated. For example, if it's students, so each time evaluation methods for good students who are interested in studying, they are for sure react to good evaluation methods. So I think that for improvements, for sure. It's also, I think that it's good for engagement of especially young people, because it's each time provide for them opportunity to have a voice, especially in education process. As far I have in my experience that it's each time to have very good discussion with young people, for example, without teachers, because sometimes they are afraid to speak when teachers are in the same room. So it's usually good for engagement, especially a different kind of participatory methods.
Actually, the policies have to affect research, and evaluations have to affect policies a lot. But unfortunately, when we look at countries or from a European perspective, it's more like the ideological perspectives or the tendencies of politicians and the politics that picks up the dimensions that they are more interested in youth policies. So from that perspective, I think when we are looking at more external validity types of studies, especially data that is evidence-based from a more generalized quantitative data, they seem to be picking up more that kind of ideas. Whereas we find that the human youth, we have this diverse, wide perspective of differences, cultural perspectives, innovative new ideas that are coming up. So what I think is we also need to consider the participatory perspective of including youth policies. And what I find, or what is shown in research outcomes as well, that kind of policies are not much integrated into national or a wider perspective. It is sad, of course. We have a lot of beautiful ideas through evaluations, through what we are doing, but sometimes we are missing really the elephant that's available in the evaluations that we can't reflect on the policy changes.